Mrs May hopes to maintain frictionless trade in some sectors by staying in lockstep alignment with EU regulation, while opening up the prospect of diverging in other areas in order to gain a competitive advantage in the international marketplace. But speaking at a summit of EU 27 member states in Brussels to discuss the EU's budget and leadership post-Brexit, Mr Varadkar said, "It is not possible for UK to be aligned to EU when it suits and not when it doesn't. The UK position needs to be backed up with real detail that can be written into a legal treaty with the EU. We are well beyond the point of aspirations and principle. We need detail." Leo Varadkar and Theresa May. Leo Varadkar arrives in Brussels for EU 27 talks. It is not possible for UK to be aligned to EU when it suits and not when it doesn't. Leo Varadkar, senior EU diplomat, said expectations were now low for Mrs May's speech, planned for next Friday, in which she will offer her vision of Britain's future trading relationship with the EU. European Council President Donald Tusk said he would be meeting Mrs May in Downing Street ahead of her speech, but insisted the EU would set out its stall on the future in March whether the UK had a viable proposal or not. He said, "Our intention is to adopt these guidelines whether the UK is ready with its vision of our future or not. Naturally it would be much better if it were, but we cannot stand by and wait." Donald Tusk will meet Theresa May this week. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, who met Mrs May in London earlier in the week to deliver an uncompromising call for a clear and realisable vision for the UK government, said, "As good friends of the British, we can bring the difficult messages like I did at Downing Street, asking Theresa May to be as clear as possible on what she wants to achieve on the second phase of negotiations." Mr Rutte said the EU wanted to stay as closely associated with the UK as possible, but the British would have to abide by European rules for a close relationship. He said, for example, membership of the internal market, that means certain obligations. Membership of the customs union, that means certain obligations.